Hello and welcome to my Swift tutorial series for beginners. In this video, you're going to learn about inheritance, otherwise known as subclassing, which allows you to create a class which builds upon or extends from other classes which have already been defined. Now, this saves us a lot of time and effort from defining classes that do similar things. All right, so stay tuned. I don't know if you've noticed, but now that we've talked about functions, having the ability to organize your code into chunks, and then classes being able to organize and group variables and functions together in a way that makes sense, these are all different ways of organizing your code. Now, today's topic, subclassing, is another way to further organize your classes. So remember what I said about duplicated code and how it's a bad practice to have duplicate code all over your project, because it makes it hard to maintain and hard to manage, hard to make changes. Now, when I introduced functions, I told you that having duplicate code all over your project is a bad practice, and it is. And functions were a way to address that. You can define a function and then you can call it from multiple places when you need to execute that piece of code. Classes are the same thing. Sometimes you might have to define two classes which are very similar. So instead of having two very similar definitions or classes, you can use subclassing and have one class extend from the other. So that's what subclassing is all about. Let's take a look at an example using the playground that we had yesterday. We had defined an employee which had a name, salary, and a role, and a method called doWork. Now remember, these are called properties of the employee class, and this is called a method of the employee class. Now, let's say that I wanted to create another custom data type called manager, right? So I would define a manager class like so, right? Now, a manager also has a name, right? So I can go ahead and define that. Managers also have salary and roles, and they also do work. So, I would just be defining the same thing, very close to it, all over again. Now, instead of doing that, what we can do is have the manager class be a subclass of the employee class. So we can define that, or we can do that by putting a colon after manager, and we can specify employee. And that is basically saying that the manager class inherits or is a subclass of the employee class. And this also means that the manager class automatically inherits all of the properties and methods of the employee class. So let me demonstrate for you. So let's say let m equals, let's use var m equals a new manager object. So I've just created a new manager piece of data in memory and assigned it to m. I can say, you can see here, Maggie, maybe she's got a bigger salary, role of manager of IT or something like that, right? And M can do work. So, hi, my name is Maggie and I'm doing work. Now let's say as a manager, you also want to keep track of the size of the team that the manager is managing. So for the manager class, we could have another property called team size, and we can start that at 0. But now for my manager object down here, in addition to all of these properties and methods that it inherited from the employee class, in addition to that, it also has the properties that I've defined inside the manager class. So I can say the team size is 10. Now essentially, I was able to create a new class based off of an old class, right, and add additional functionality to it. Now you can also modify existing functionality. So let's say that, when a manager does work, he or she is not just doing work, he or she is managing people. So what we can do if we wanted to change the definition of do work, we can redefine it here after using this keyword override. So I'm going to override the do work method, and I am going to print I'm managing people, very important, right? And the salary increase, wow, it's gonna increase by 2. All right, so now when I run this, it's not going to say, hi, my name is Maggie and I'm doing work. It's going to take this overridden function, right? Because M is a manager. So that's why we get down here, I'm managing people. But did you know that if you wanted to, instead of replacing the functionality of that inherited do work method, let's say you just wanted to increase the functionality, you wanted to add to it. So what you can do inside here, after overriding it, you can call the do work method of the employee class from here. All you have to do is write super dot, and you can access these properties, or you can call the do work method. So now when I write m.doWork, what it's actually going to do, it's going to execute the do work method definition from the employee class. And then after that, it's going to do this additional code that I've written here. So let's run our project and see what that looks like. You can see, hi, my name is Maggie and I'm doing work and I'm managing people. The reason why this keyword is called super is because the class that you're subclassing from is also known as the superclass or the parent class. So for the manager class, employee would be the superclass or the parent class. And that's why this keyword is called super. All right, so in addition to being able to redefine the methods of the superclass, I can also declare new methods. So I can say, fire people. Oops. What's going on? I'm firing people. So now I can say m.firepeople. But, if I, let's say, declare a new employee here just to demonstrate, using dot notation on the employee object, you can see I only have those things which have been defined in the employee class. So that's how powerful subclassing can be. It can really save you a lot of work. You're not going to have to redefine two different things that are very similar. What we've got right here is actually one level of subclassing or one level of inheritance, but it can actually go much deeper than that. For example, an employee is also a person, right? And all people have names. So I could, for example, declare another class up here which contains the name property, right? Because all people will have a name. And so then inside the employee class, I wouldn't have to define that. And instead, I can go that the employee is a subclass of person, right? So you can build these hierarchies and these trees, and it's really a way of organizing your data and your information. Now, inside of your classes, you're organizing your properties and your functions. So now you can see holistically how all of these things are starting to come together: variables, functions, and classes. Okay, so this was a simplified example of subclassing, but it's essentially how it works. And it's very predominant in the Swift programming language, as you're going to see in the next lesson. As you can see, subclassing helps you save a lot of time by allowing you to define your new classes based on what already exists, and then improving upon that or customizing it a little bit without having to redefine everything all over again. Alright, so if you learned something new and you liked this video, please hit that thumbs up button and hit subscribe to support the channel. And now you know the drill. Let's click on over to the next lesson and I'll see you there.